Hello, everybody, and we're back for, I want to say, the 29th Biweekly Reader. Let's see if that's right when I go in for editing. And sadly, I have a lot to report and not a lot to report. So you'll see what I mean in a moment. But I'll go ahead and get out of the way the two books that I had been reading. Haven't made much progress whatsoever. And that starts with Riddle Master of Head. I think I read 2/3 of a chapter. And again, still amazing. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Sorry. For a second, I thought I'd forgotten where the book... I didn't put a bookmark last time. I was like, oh, uh-oh. But no, we are good. I am really enjoying this trilogy so far, even though I haven't made much progress. It is still fantastic stuff by Patricia A. McKillop, and I cannot wait to continue. And I'll explain why I haven't continued in a moment. The second thing that I read, or well, actually I didn't even read it, was Deadhouse Gates. I want to continue it very badly, but I do think that right now, I'm not working with very complex stuff. I don't know why, but my brain desires a story that's deep, nuanced, but at the same time, something that I don't really have to try to read, if that makes any sense. Because if we take an example, Deadhouse Gates. The prose of Deadhouse Gates are very dense. It's not to say that they're bad, or anything like that. It's dense. And so when I want to read Deadhouse Gates, I have to put a lot of effort into sitting down and reading it. I love that, but I don't think that's my mood right now, which is really annoying because there is, like, for me, there's what I want to read and what my mood wants to read, if that makes any sense. Like, I want to read Deadhouse Gates, but my mood is asking me to read something else. And I'll explain to you what that something else is, and if you've been following closely, you can probably make a guess. Now, Deadhouse Gates, I really, really, really want to continue, but I don't know how long it's going to be until I do. I absolutely will, let me be clear about that. But I just don't know when. And that's just how it is. I have an idea, actually, but we'll see, because I have to get to that point. And again, I'll talk about that in a moment, but Deadhouse Gates is, like, I've put both of these really on hold because they're so dense. Honestly, Riddle Master isn't even that dense, but I do find that it is a little bit more than I can take right now. And again, I don't know what it is, but complex things are really pushing me a bit too much right now. I kind of want to be able to relax and enjoy a great story that isn't very taxing in terms of my literature skills. So, I'll explain to you guys what I have been reading, because I have been reading, and it's not that I've been reading a small amount. I've read a lot over the past few weeks. I've probably met a standard of something like 100,000, or not 100,000, 100 words, or 100 words, oh my god, 100 pages a day. It's just not been in a physical book. So, Alex, what have you been reading? The Wandering Inn. I wish I had a physical copy so I could, like, hold it up, but, and it's gonna happen soon, so I'm very excited about that, but I have been reading it online because The Wandering Inn has, well, it'll be soon 3 different versions, or, well, I guess 4. At the current moment, there is the website, where pretty much the entire series is available. I think volumes 1 and 2 are not, but that's just because they're getting another version, and that is the physical version. They are getting physical editions in, I want to say, September to October, and that's very, very exciting for The Wandering Inn, and I will be buying all 4 books that they are releasing, covering volumes 1 and 2. And that's just so exciting because I love this story. And to talk about it a little bit more, then there's the two other versions, and that's the ebook and the audiobook. I have been listening through the audiobook for a long time. Of course, last year I caught up to book 15 of the audiobook, and it was amazing. I loved it so very much. And then I continued on from there. I read it for, I want to say, 10 chapters or so, and then I took a pause, went somewhere else, and give me 1 second, I just realized that I have an alarm that I didn't turn off. Alright, the charms of me not editing anything, and I refuse to edit that out. Anyways, I paused in the middle of Volume 7, which is what it was, and then I called it a day. I said I'm happy with what I've done, and didn't really come back for a while. Then recently, the audiobooks caught up to where I was. I believe book 17 finished on the last chapter that I'd read. And so I thought, oh, okay, I think it's about time. When book 18, Archmage's Ire, came out, I decided, okay, it's time to continue The Wandering Inn. And so I listened to book 18, and then I waited for book 19, which came out on May 26th, to come out. And, of course, just as always, I loved it. I loved it so much. And I thought it was about time that I jumped right back into The Wandering Inn. So I jumped right back into the web novel, which is on the website. I'll put it in the description if you want it, but I had a great time with it. And I finished off the volume, and it had some of the most impeccable fantasy scenes ever. Something about The Wandering Inn is capable of capturing that wonder that I absolutely adore in fantasy. My favorite thing about fantasy in general is being able to learn about this curated world that someone else has made, but somebody has put passion into to make it interesting and unique and creative. It's all a product of their mind, and I love that so much. And it just unbinds their creativity. I love it. And so The Wandering Inn is one of those stories that just captures that ability to be creative. It's so, I don't want to say outlandish, but it's so grand and beautiful at times. And it doesn't have this nihilistic approach to the world. And at times I've worried that it would take that route, because this story can get dark, and it can get to points where it's like, oh crap, this person is going down a really dark route. But it still finds this hope and beauty in humanity and the belief in kindness for others. And I just love that so much. And the end of Volume 7, which is where I was absolutely impeccable. And by the way, think of the volumes as like seasons of television or arcs in anime. And it's like, here is your story arc, beginning, middle, and end, throughout a whole segment. That does get chopped up for the ebooks because it's so long, but again, some of the best storytelling out there with some of the most beautiful character writing I've ever seen. And there, like I was saying earlier, there are times where the wonder and uniqueness of this world just comes to fruition. It's so interesting yet horrifying. It makes this wonderful blend between beautiful, gorgeous vistas and eldritch cosmic horror. It can turn these beautiful landscapes into the most frightening thing, and it takes the most generic and stereotypical fantasy ideas that we've seen and says, okay, don't worry, I'm going to flip this on its head. And I love that so much because I'm going to say it right now. One of my least favorite things in all fantasy is the lit RPG trend. I hate lit RPGs. If I watch it in a TV show, I might be able to tolerate it, but that's the extent of my ability to like it. I don't want to spend my time reading lit RPGs. So, when I started The Wandering Inn, I had no idea that it was a lit RPG. But as I continued, it does something so unique, so interesting. Well, not... It's about the execution. I have seen an approach similar to this before, so I can kind of see where it's going, but it turns it into this eldritch attack. I know that makes no sense, but it makes everything about this system, the magic, everything about this world has this sinister undertone. And despite all the beauty, despite so many things about it that are so cool, you're afraid of so much of it because it is a little bit of cosmic horror, and I adore that. It mixes, like I said earlier, the wonder and the terror that I love fantasy authors being able to do, and it just shows a skill as a writer. I don't think that the author, Pyrodaba, is a very good writer on a technical level. I think she does struggle a little bit with that, but I just love the way that she handles her characters, her world, and personally, it's as if Sanderson didn't get worse with his prose, I've said that before, and maintained a higher and higher character quality, because she doesn't just settle. I think that's one thing I respect so much about The Wandering Inn. It is likely the most ambitious work I've ever seen. I say this as someone who's read The Wars of Light and Shadow. I say this as someone who's read One Piece. I say this as somebody who's read so many insanely ambitious stories. I think this is the most ambitious story I've ever seen. It's insane. How? Why? It is absurd. The ideas that go into this person's head, and she tackles so many interesting and unique character, what would you call it? I want to say character positions, if you will. And what I mean by that is putting your character in interesting situations that you yourself should have no idea how to handle. These characters go through events that are just so alien to what we could possibly imagine. And yet, it connects to a very deep and beautiful aspect of humanity. And that is the pinnacle of fantasy, in my opinion. I think she has this ability to just bring everything together into such a brilliant climax, number one. Brilliantly weave them all together into these themes of kindness being the way to answer the world, in its cruelties, in the way it punishes us, in so very many things. But at the end of the day, kindness is how we should respond. I love that so very much. It is something that I believe in on a personal level, and something that I adore as a themes reader. I love so very much when an author takes grand ideas and weaves it into this thematic thread that you see throughout every character, and yet, at the same time, you can see she's not just repeating the same arc again and again and again. No, this is some of the most wonderfully done long-term character work I've ever seen. It's a long story, I admit that. But to be able to maintain character growth consistently over a long story without it ever feeling forced is so impeccable that I cannot stop gushing about it. And the chapters are long once you get to the point that I'm at, which is insane, by the way. Some of these chapters, they're so long that I just have to think to myself, why'd you write this that long? And I understand why. Because this author has this weird obsession. After, I want to say... no, I think it's all of her chapters. Actually, I think a lot of authors do this, but this is insane. It's to an insane degree. It's like a beginning, middle, and end for each and every chapter. And as she continued throughout the story, the author just got longer and longer chapters. And I love it, because that makes the climaxes of each chapter so brilliant. And on top of that, it allows her to really settle with these characters in kind of slice-of-life moments. And it's just impeccable. I have no other words, because I think that if I said anything else, it would spoil people. But it is one of my favorite stories of all time. It is definitely a top 10 series. I'd have to think about whether I'd put it in my top 5. It might be in my top 5, though. Like, thinking back on it, thinking on how much the story has affected me. Not really in that I'd say it's life-changing, but that it just reinforces beliefs that I love and agree with. And I just think it's a very beautiful and poignant story at the end of the day. So that's really all I've read for the past few weeks. I've just been reading a chapter a day. Yeah, the chapters are that long, by the way. I have to be able, because I also want to do other stuff, you know? I want to do other stuff with my life. I want to go to the gym. I want to play soccer with my friends. I want to enjoy life. But it is just such a wonderful story. And the more I progress through it, the more I love it. Seeing how these characters have grown from the beginning of the story and how they are now evolving and changing things in this volume that I'm at. Volume 8, I'm on chapter 13 or something. It is just wonderful. And I implore you to, if you haven't read it yet, go read it when the physical copies come out. It's the perfect excuse. You have no other excuses. And I think that's just about it for me when it comes to what I've been reading, because I really haven't been reading anything else. I want to try and sneak in a chapter of Deadhouse Gates later tonight. We'll see if I can get away with it. I'm not so sure. But I want to get another chapter in of Deadhouse Gates sometime within the next week or two. I don't want to lose it, you know? I want to keep reading Deadhouse Gates, because once I'm done with Volume 8, I'll take a break. And Volume 8 is, I want to say, 100 chapters. And by the way, remember, these chapters are not short. They're 25 to 30,000 words per chapter. And to anybody who's done any sort of writing, you understand how absolutely absurd that is. Because the average page is about 300 words per page. And I do want to get another chapter in here, but once I'm done with Volume 8, I'll probably try to go back to Deadhouse Gates, and I think it'll be it'll be a long enough break for me to really be able to get back into the groove of more complex stories. Not complex stories. This is a deeply complex story. But complex prose, and be able to read things like that at a more steady level. So that is what I look forward to doing. It'll probably take a little bit, because Volume 8 is insanely long. I'm probably reading the equivalent of the entirety of the Wheel of Time. I actually wouldn't be shocked. I'd have to look up how long the Wheel of Time is. Actually, before I end this, I'm going to look up the length of the Wheel of Time. I'll be back. Okay, it's not that bad. I thought I was basically reading the entirety of the Wheel of Time. Instead, I'm only reading 3/5 of the Wheel of Time. I don't think that's much better, but I'm trying to read the entire volume before I go on to anything else because number one, I love the characters. I want to stick with them for a little while. And number two, I would like to give myself enough of a break from typical novels because I do think that the novels that I like to read are very dense. They're very complex prose-wise, and they're very curated. A lot of the time, the books that I love and the books that I'm trying to read at the current moment are all, every single scene has explicit intention when it comes to the overarching plot. The Wandering Inn kind of allows me to sit back and relax. There's a lot of slice of life. There's a lot of moments where the characters are doing stuff to forward the plot, but it also kind of feels like they're chilling, they're relaxing, they are trying to forward things, but they are also trying to be, I don't know what the word would be, but like relax. They're trying to live their lives. I think that's the right word. A lot of it is kind of mundane. They're living their lives, they're doing things. Whereas if I'm reading something like Malazan, every moment is a big, important moment that could change the course of the story for the rest of the tale. I think almost everything in Malazan is incredibly important, and you need to watch it. That's just how dense it is. It's an amazing story, but I don't think I'm in the mindset for that quite yet. Now, another thing that I could take in and read if I wanted a little bit of a break would be the thing that I saw was about half off because of Prime Day, and I took advantage of it. That is The Tales of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. I saw that I had the opportunity to yoink this for only $30, when it is typically $70, because this is illustrated. Beautiful illustrations, by the way. I will pop it open just so you can see some of them. I adore some of the art here. I do think I struggle a little bit with how the characters are drawn. I don't really like how they do faces. It's kind of weird. But I love the style that this artist... What's their name? Charles Vess. I think that Charles Vess has a very beautiful art style in terms of landscape, especially. And I just want to read some Ursula K. Le Guin because I know she's a fantastic author. And before you say, Alex, you started Left Hand of Darkness. I mean, why don't you just finish Left Hand of Darkness? Well, my answer to that is it's another very complex book. Left Hand of Darkness is just so much for me, and at the moment, I don't think I can handle Left Hand of Darkness. But, as I said before, I think that once my foray back into the world of The Wandering Inn is complete, and I've read Volume 8, I think I want to try and read a volume a year, because that's a lot. Let's be very clear. I'm at a point in the story where, well, I did the math yesterday, and right now there are 9 completed volumes, and we're on the 10th volume. I think there are something like 130 chapters in Volume 10. It's ongoing, and it is the length of the Wheel of Time. Maybe like 200,000 words short, but that's... What? So, I know, and now you're probably thinking, oh wow, that's huge. Now you're realizing that how big The Wandering Inn is. But I think it'll probably be another month or two before I get back to Stephen Erickson and his wonderful journeys and Riddle Master. But when I do, I will be sure to keep you all posted. So tell me, have you read any of these books? Oh, before I say anything else, I have 2 things I get to do and announce. Tomorrow, on July 2nd, I get the honor of getting to talk with Max Garfield, the wonderful, amazing Norway fan. We're gonna win. I just want you to remember that. I want you to remember that, Max Garfield. When Brazil goes against Norway, we're gonna win. That's it's off topic, but the wonderful and amazing Max Garfield, who has been so wonderfully kind and supportive throughout my YouTube career. And then, next week, I get to talk to the wonderful and amazing, who I've actually had the honor of speaking to on 2 or 3 different occasions, I think. I got to meet her at the Sun Eater Gala. I got to meet her on Chance's stream, and I got to meet her on Chance's other book stream. And speaking of, I actually need to do a lot more with Mercy, Ills of Fate. And one more thing before I leave. I did make a full final review for The Silver Crystal by Ryan Lands, and I'll link it down below. It is a very wonderful... I think he did a great job with his debut, and if you want to know more of what I think, go down, read the review if you'd like on Goodreads. That's where I have it. And all is in good faith. I didn't want to be too harsh. I didn't want to be too light. I want to be honest with everything that I say and do. I don't believe in just lying to be a little nice, because he asked me for an honest review, and I feel like I owe it to him to be as honest as I possibly can be. And that's about it. Like I said before, what have you guys been reading? Have you read any of these? What do you think of the books that I've read? Or the books that I've read? Deadhouse Gates, Riddle Master, The Wandering Inn. Have I convinced you to read The Wandering Inn yet? I know that's a big ask, but have you read any of these? Have you read Wizard of Earthsea? Have you read Deadhouse Gates? Have you read Riddle Master? What do you think of them? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I think that's about it for me today. And I cannot wait to see you all, hopefully in one of the next 2 streams that I'll be doing. And I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful, fantastic day.